It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here with a preview of Build and a little bit about what Microsoft might be announcing tomorrow. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 355, recorded March 26th, 2014. Take it and run. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/windows. And by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile from Citrix. Try ShareFile today for a 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter Windows. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code WINDOWS. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers Microsoft, Windows, the entire universe of fun Microsoft projects you can do at home. Paul,
Why am I?
What, Paul? What?
Guys, don't worry. I'll fix it.
We've moved him over. Boy, it looks good, though. Do you get a new camera?
No.
Oh, you've been working out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you and your lovely wife as teenagers on Throwback Thursday on that thing called Facebook.
I was a good-looking boy.
What a good-looking boy. Did you see that, Mary Jo?
I did. I was like, wow.
What a hottie.
The dimples are the same.
You look like, wait a minute. Sorry to interrupt, Leo. I went over to Facebook to see this, and they've interrupted me. Sorry to interrupt, Leo.
Nice.
You haven't.
We purchased Oculus Rift, and we were wondering if you'd like to play a VR version.
Do you want to do this in 3D? Public.
Is that what they're doing now? That's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's because they said you haven't.
That.
I think they're responding well to. PAULT. You don't mind if I show this to you on the television?
Yep.
No, it's like Good Morning America. We will take anything that happened on the internet. There he is. Oh, this is funny. That's a funny little edit on that from Christian Sherman. Let me see if I can find the original. There it is. Look at them. Aren't they a cute couple, ladies and gentlemen?
We had no idea what life was going to do to us back then. We were so innocent.
Were you high school sweethearts?
No, just after high school.
So cute. Oh my goodness! And do you still have that shirt? Because that's nice.
No, like the '80s, Leo. That shirt is long gone.
Wow! I've always thought Paul was a good-looking man, but now, wow! And Stephanie too. You guys look great. So cute. 1988. What a decade.
I know. I miss it. Miss it badly.
That's Paul Thurrott. He's the guy in charge of the Superfund. Was that Delphi Bible era, or that predates that?
Oh, well before that.
Well before.
Well, actually, not that. Well, yeah, it was before. Yeah, 10.
Not much.
Less than 10 years. This was probably. It would have been like 5 years before I wrote my first book.
Wow.
I guess.
That's why you look so fresh.
Yeah, I did. Right. That's what I mean.
So full of hope.
I think the first 2 or 3 books we wrote almost entirely between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m.
While the kids were asleep. Mary Jo Foley's also here from ZDNet, all about Microsoft.com. Great to have you both to talk all about Windows. Do you have any comment on the, we were talking about before the show began, the Oculus Rift story? It's not really a Windows story.
Oh, you got to go look at the graphic I made for that one.
Did you?
Yeah, WindowsITPro.com.
I love Paul's frustrated.
This one's a little ham-handed, but it's worth it. I'll admit that I wrote about this story only so I can make this graphic.
Is it Mark Zuckerberg in a virtual reality helmet? I don't know.
No, it's Fonzie jumping the shark on ski.
Oh, it's a classic. And he's wearing, ladies and gentlemen, an Oculus Rift. I like it. And a Facebook blazer. That's very funny.
He worked on that one. You can
now,
tell.
who jumped the shark here, Facebook or Oculus?
Well, Oculus is right to take $2 billion from anybody.
That's
Who cares?
good news, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't understand Facebook's interest in it, even though I read the ostensible explanation for it. It just doesn't make sense.
You know, and I'm going to deftly turn this to Windows. Watch. It strikes me, in fact, I think they said this in the call yesterday, that Facebook, remember Andy Grove at Intel wrote the book, Only the Paranoid Survive? I think Facebook is an unusually paranoid company and particularly concerned about the future. They understand, having put MySpace out of business with just a flick of the wrist, they understand how tenuous their domination can be, and that's why they've hustled to buy Instagram and WhatsApp for outrageous valuations. And I think he said, and I think this is telling, mobile's the thing now. They almost missed mobile. They came very close to missing mobile. They caught up on that. Then now it's going to be wearables, but they're really concerned. What's the next thing? And he said, I see this as a platform. And that's the magic word, that's
I don't know, Leo. Back in and by the way, that was actually a nice job of transitioning to Microsoft.
I haven't finished, but you understand where I'm going.
I didn't.
Platform is the key word.
No, one day Mark Zuckerberg in public will utter the phrase, "We're going to do everything we can to ensure that we will not be the next Microsoft," which will, of course, ensure that they are literally going to be the next Microsoft.
But Microsoft had the platform, and we've said this so many times, in the 80s and the 90s.
Yep.
And kind of lost it to the cloud.
Somebody else may remember this, but in 1996 or possibly 95. Microsoft used to, back in the pre-broadband internet days, would do satellite transmissions to theaters. And so you could go to a movie theater in your local area and see a Microsoft presentation that would be about some topic. And so back then they might have done some about Windows or whatever. But the one I remember was for I don't remember if it was IE2 or IE3, but it was for one of the early versions of Internet Explorer. Are you okay, Mary Jo?
Yeah, I was like, what just happened there?
What happened?
Paul Thurrott happened, baby.
I don't know what that was.
No, I don't know. We didn't hear anything. Did something massive and noisy happen?
It was just a video somehow.
Oh, okay.
You hear something playing?
Like something started playing.
Somehow.
I hope that's not
so.
coming for us.
Joe Belfiore was one of the presenters in this. He talked about this coming. They were going to do frames and all kinds of other things, better than Netscape. But one of the tools or applications that they showed off then was a VR world instant messaging chat program. Whose name now escapes me completely. And you would step out into this virtual world, and it would be like in my case, it was like a planetscape, and there was wind blowing.
Yeah.
And you would kind of walk around. And I remember
that. Yeah.
Somebody out there might remember the name of it. I don't remember the name of the app, but I remember I spoke to a guy from Norway, and again, 95, 96. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And I walked out of my office later, and my wife's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I just had a conversation with a guy from Norway in some weird 3D world. Like everyone had big heads, and they were very strange looking. You could kind of imagine that this would be the future. And, Doom was the big thing at the time. It wouldn't be hard to slow down Doom. Like Doom is a really fast game. Slow it down. Just have people walking around these virtual worlds. But, here it is almost 20 years later, and we that kind of thing really doesn't happen.
Well, a couple of things. We also had an avatar virtual reality chat on Tech TV in 1998 that we used. And it was kind of interesting. And, of course, Second Life, kind of interesting, got a lot of press for a while. There are things like that. I think what's happening is the technology wasn't there yet, but we all remember very well, I think, Neil Stephenson's description of the metaverse in Snow Crash, and that idea that you would plug into a world that would seem real but wasn't. So I think that there is a desire for this. And what Oculus did, and Notch pointed this out in his post, in which he said, "That's it, screw you, I'm not doing Minecraft for the Oculus." I'm paraphrasing, but that's the basic idea. Pointed out that all of these headsets, I used a VR headset in the 90s, early 90s, and it was disorienting and terrible. were just ahead of their time, and that Oculus noted that the technology had finally caught up and did it. We're able to do something with no
wouldn't it be
latency.
interesting, though, if Zuckerberg was right, that people have been sort of wondering about what's after mobile. One of the things that Steve Ballmer just recently said was, we may have missed the mobile boat. It may literally be over. But we have enough money to survive, and hopefully we'll ride the next wave, whatever that thing is.
Exactly.
But how weird would it be if the next thing was this thing we kind of have been talking about for 25
Happens
years
all
or
the
longer?
time.
Happens
all the time.
What's after mobile? SharePoint.
No, I thought it was Hadoop.
The end.
VR Hadoop.
Just wanted to help him.
Mary Jo, you're supposed to throw your microphone down and walk off.
Boom.
No, Mike Baz knows the program you're talking about, Paul. It's VChat. Remember Microsoft VChat? 1995.
Wow.
95. Okay.
Virtual rooms with customized avatars. Yep. Good memory.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was very interesting.
I vividly remember all of this. And it was going to be the next big thing, but technology wasn't there yet, frankly. That's really the it's just like, netcasting. How many people were doing this in the early 90s and then the early 2000s? It was little window, remember Reel and all that. And we just got better. And so Microsoft has, I don't know if you have this in your notes, but Microsoft is apparently doing a VR helmet for the Xbox, right?
They're doing the Fortaleza glasses.
Is that what Fortaleza is? Okay.
Yeah.
Why did Microsoft get in on this? That would have been more of an obvious fit, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
VChat. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of this. I think that might be it, yeah.
I think that was it.
It was a planet. I remember that very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why didn't Microsoft get in on this?
Or
Maybe
Google
they're
or
making
somebody
their
else.
own.
Well,
maybe they're making their own.
That's the strong rumor,
equivalent.
isn't it, that they are?
Yeah, Sony and Microsoft both may be doing their own
too, yeah.
equivalent, right? Yeah.
And what better thing to attach it? If you've got a game console, that's a peripheral you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
IGN on March 18th, a week ago, said Microsoft reportedly working on a VR headset for Xbox One and 360. That was before the Oculus acquisition. Seems like Oculus... Well, I guess, it's very possible that the scientists at Microsoft looked at what Oculus VR was doing and said, yeah, we got that. We don't need to buy that.
Yeah.
Facebook surely was not developing it.
Yeah, they're not even saying Microsoft bid on it. Like in the reports I read, they're not saying they were even in it.
Didn't they say that Google was?
Yeah, I think they did say Google was.
Fortaleza, I think, is a...
They were looking for a way to make Google Glasses bigger.
Yeah.
This is the patent application for the Fortaleza glasses.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That really makes you want to do it, doesn't it?
See Jack. See Jack Fence. See Jill
Current
talking to
game,
smartphone.
Sword fighting. Jane Smith, the queen. She's dancing. Yeah. But I do think that I would like to talk to people who are at GDC, because I suspect that GDC had a number of these devices at the Game Developers Conference last week. But we're not here to talk about that.
Well, it is interesting and odd. I mean, I don't know. I'm just worried that VR is going to be like 3D, which is some people really enjoy it and some people are so turned off by it.
Right. I think it's
they just
right now it's very much like that.
Yeah.
I get nauseous. I was playing with, in fact, we had a review on it before you buy last week, a bodysuit that captures motion. That you can, and they were showing it at GDC, so you could do that, and then you put on the Oculus VR helmet, and you're moving around, you're looking around, it was as close to a virtual world as you can get, and I immediately got sick. Immediately.
I actually, that's what happens to me when I walk outside. So
yeah,
I completely understand.
Well, it could be. It was the bright sun. It burns. It burns.
Right.
But it was a really cool experience. And it was I'll tell you, from a point of view of console gaming, to be able to aim with your hands and then see your gun, and then it was really fun. I could aim and shoot in a much more naturalistic way. And for console gaming, I could see it as a real product.
Yeah, but Leo, I can sit here for 8 hours and play Call of Duty, but if I had to run around like I was in Call of Duty, I think it'd be good for about 8 minutes.
Right. Well, it is
You
more.
know?
That's a good point too. Sometimes letting the mind do the immersion is a better idea than trying to give it too much input, right?
Like Sean Connery and The Untouchables, you know, he's like, frick this running.
much running.
Shoots the guy. Except in my case, I would just I just stop running and be like, shoot me. I don't care. I need the rest.
I for one have always wanted VR, but more than just these helmets. You know, it's the same thing with 3D glasses in movies and games and TV. It's an attempt to make the world more immersive and real,
Right.
but it is very much in the uncanny valley where it's not, and so in some ways it's worse because it's closer. And that makes it less acceptable to us.
It's like when they make graphics that are too realistic.
Right.
People start freaking out because there's something weird about it.
Yes, that's the uncanny valley.
You cross some weird line
It's a
where
creepy line, yeah.
less realistic is okay. Photographs and videos are okay. Right in the middle of that, not okay.
So I we're going to have to go through this stage, of course, the Polar Express stage. But
Yep.
at some point, maybe it'll get good enough. I'm hoping it's before I die because I plan to lie in the nursing home on my back.
Then we can bring back your character from the site. What was that you called
Yeah,
again?
Dev Null.
Dev Null, yes.
I have more experience in one of these suits than many people, and an Emmy Award to prove it.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Bill, are you guys excited? First of all, you're not coming out for tomorrow's coming out party.
No.
Right.
No. You're coming
We're
out.
going to webcast that, so
Yeah.
we're just going to watch.
And I believe Paul is going to join us on our coverage tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
I think I can do that. It's
Okay.
right after I'm doing a webcast tomorrow for work, but I think I think I should be there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think I should be
Yeah.
there.
So I think it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, 1700 UTC, and we'll be covering it live. We'll carry the stream, but we'll also get Paul's commentary, Mike's commentary. I think we're going to get some iOS people too, because I think we're going to see Microsoft Office for iOS.
Do you?
I don't know. I listen to Mary and Joe on these things, and possibly Gemini.
Yeah, that'll be the most interesting thing to see what else they show.
I think here's one way to spin that is, I'm skipping ahead and I apologize, but let's do this in chronological order.
Okay.
I think one way to sell this is we believe.
Wait.
Touch.
If we're going to do it in chronological order, we're going to do that MS-DOS 1.1 thing first. I mean, if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Did you see? Is this in your notes?
We have that in there somewhere.
The fact that they're releasing the source code for
Yeah.
Okay, we won't talk about it then. We'll save it. They're right. You actually have a story. I thought you were joking. You have a story that goes back that far.
See?
Dang, you're good. So I thought that one thing that might, and I think you guys might have given me this idea last week, is that they focus on, hey, touch forward. And we believe touch is the future. We've done this with Windows. We're now going to do it with Office, introducing Gemini, and we're going to do it first for iOS, but very quickly thereafter for Windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Something like that?
Gemini isn't the code name for the iOS one.
I'm sorry, code name. What is the code name?
Okay.
No, but it's the
Miramar.
code name for the. But is the code name for the? And is
The
it?
Windows Suite, Office Suite is Gemini, but
Gemini.
it's different from. We think it's different from the iPad.
Oh, it's.
one.
I thought for some reason it's a similar code base. It's not.
We think
Well,
it's
there's no way to
probably
know. Yeah.
similar, but we aren't sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason I thought they might do that is just to appease Windows users who say, "Hey, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's not fair."
They have to say something tomorrow for Windows users, or people will just flip.
And to be honest,
yes,
I don't
I
think iOS users are going to get so excited anyway.
I agree with that as well.
So-
I think the way to look at this is there has to be some differentiation. They probably won't come out and say, look, we've got this thing called Office on iPad, and we're going to have this thing called Office for Windows 8 or whatever we call that. And these things are going to be functionally identical. Like, I don't think they're going to do that. I think both of them will sit somewhere between Office Mobile and Office for Windows. But maybe there's a kind of a scale. And I think it makes sense for the Windows version to be more powerful, if that makes sense, simply because Windows devices tend to be PCs, like real PCs with a keyboard.
Right.
Whereas iPads, a lot of people have them, obviously, but a lot of those people might use that to view documents and use the on-screen keyboard, whatever.
I think they also waited so long that a lot of us have figured out workarounds and aren't
Yeah.
going to worry about Office.
Yeah, and actually that's the big problem, that they've waited so long. Yeah.
I got Google Docs. I got other stuff.
Yep. iWork, whatever. I mean,
iWork, yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. So the other thing they might do, I mean, I don't know anything about this, but maybe the Windows version is free and works offline, and the iOS version requires a subscription, or there's different ways you can do it. There are restrictions around Apple's store with regards to the percentage they take when people buy things through it and so forth, that obviously doesn't exist on Microsoft's for Microsoft. So they have some leeway there. There may be advantages to having the Windows version, but we'll have to wait and see.
Anything to say about the fact that this is Mr. Nadella's first appearance, public appearance as CEO? Well, not first big event as CEO.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much his first big event. The other thing, since we're skipping ahead to item 2, we might as well do the whole thing. The other thing he's supposed to unveil tomorrow is very much in kind of his profile of what he's been doing at Microsoft. Supposedly, he's going to unveil something called the Enterprise Mobility Suite as part of the announcement tomorrow,
and that's
too.
when we'll be breaking away to the social hour on most of the same stations. Paul's leaving.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. It's a way for big companies to manage all the different kinds of devices they have. So iPads, iPhones, Android tablets, Android phones, Windows tablets, Windows RT, Windows phones. And they're going to talk about the whole way you can do this as a business. And you know what? Those are the customers who are going to care about Office on iPad. Those are the ones they really, really care about, right? Because they're going to buy like tons of licenses of this thing, Microsoft hopes. So this is where you're going to see Satya Nadella get into kind of his
He loves this stuff.
Enterprise cloud stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to see. I think you're going to see that too tomorrow, and that's going to be more his bread and butter kind of stuff.
Good. Again, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC tomorrow, and we'll have live coverage of that event, including the stream, because they are going to stream that.
Right. On the Microsoft News Center, if anybody's looking for it.
Cool. Now we can go to next week, because you guys are coming. You're coming to town. I'm very excited about that. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Windows Weekly is on the air, talking about all that Microsoft stuff. Now, I want to mention something that maybe is not as important to you as Windows, but it ought to be, and that's your money and your investments. And I want to talk about Personal Capital. Today, I want to tell you about a free, secure tool that will solve 2 barriers to retirement. Now, you may say, I'm too young to worry about retirement. You're never too young. Take it from an old man. Now's the time to start thinking about retirement, because the sooner you start saving for retirement, the better off you'll be. The problem is, of course, 2 problems, really. You everything's spread out. You've got your mortgage. If you have a house, you've got loans, you've got credit cards, you've got bank accounts. I hope you have savings accounts and perhaps even some investment accounts, all of those on different websites with different logins. That's a problem. That's a problem. You also may have the issue of paying too much if you're paying somebody to manage it, or if you're buying stocks, paying too much in fees. We can rationalize all this with Personal Capital. personalcapital.com/windows to find out more. Brings all your accounts and assets into a single screen, on a tablet, on a computer, on your phone, real-time, intuitive graphs that tell you exactly how you're doing. And all of this is free. You'll even get tailored advice to optimize your investments. It's wealth management for the digital age. And how do you get that wealth? You start now with personalcapital.com. Absolutely free. personalcapital.com/windows. The smart way to grow your money. personalcapital.com/windows. Try it today for free. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Windows Weekly. Next week, Build. You're coming out, you said Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
nice.
The show starts Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And we will not be doing Windows Weekly at its normal time next week, because we're going to let you go to Build. But you're coming Friday, I should say.
Right.
And we'll be doing it here in the Brick House. So if people want to come visit in the Brick House, we'd love to have you. Email tickets at twit.tv. I expect an overflow crowd.
Is it really at 1 p.m.?
It could be anytime you want. What do you want? What do you prefer?
You might want to shoot for a little later.
Yeah.
We've
got
worried
a
about
window from 1 to 4.
Oh, okay.
So get here when you get here.
Yeah.
And
we'll do our best.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
That morning, I got to go down to the airport and get a rental car, which is what I did last year, and then, drive up.
Okay. We'll cover all the costs involved. Should really
like last year my wife came out, right? And I went and picked her up and got the.
Well, whatever works. We can confer offline, but ideally sometime between 1 and 4 on Friday, and we will arrange for some snacks and some beer and stuff like that. Should be fun.
Will there be corn, Leo?
There'll be corn, baby. Did Palmer really say that?
I know. It's just in my head.
Okay. What is Build? Who wants to take
what is
that?
Build? That's a great question.
Yeah.
Build is the successor to the PDC.
Yep, and
but this time done by the Windows guys, right? Not the
Microsoft used to have PDC,
Visual Studio.
They used to have WinHEC for hardware.
Right.
Look at you.
They used to have Mix for kind of web cloud stuff.
Right.
So they had at least 3 regular conferences.
Yep, it got a little weird. So I think there was some conflict between the Windows guys and the Visual Studio guys, and I think during the Sinofsky years they wanted to bring it in house and run it. And so Build was the result.
It's the one thing of the year. It's like their big developer conference.
Well, they don't necessarily have one every year, although they pretty much have, right? I don't know if they've missed a year since the first one. Yeah. So the first one must have been in like 2008, 9, that time frame.
Because Google does this with Google I/O. Apple does it with WWDC. This is pretty much now kind of the trend. I see this. Dropbox just had theirs. Samsung just had theirs.
Yeah.
This seems to be a trend because every company has to reach out to developers. You want to give developers timely information and help developing. And so that makes sense that this would – is that basically what Build is? It's not a press event.
No.
Right.
It's usually like 6,000 or so developers. And what's interesting is they're developers across all the different Microsoft platforms.
Right.
So you get phone developers and Windows developers. You get web developers. You're going to get Xbox and Azure developers this year too.
And that makes sense because these platforms are getting closer together, aren't they? I mean, it's
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the other thing that's different about this year's is we're hearing rumors that they're going to talk about the future more than they typically do at Build. So a lot of times you hear kind of like what's next for the platform, but in a very short time frame window. But we're hearing, Paul and I both have heard, they're going to talk about Windows 9 to some extent at the show.
Okay.
So that's different because we're hearing Windows 9's not till spring 2015. So that's pretty far ahead for them to talk. And the part we don't know is how deep are they going to get into that? Like, are they actually going to give time frames and features? Or is it going to be very high level? I'm thinking high level myself, but yeah.
Cool.
I think they'll probably talk about things like, here's our vision for the platform and how the platforms are becoming more similar and how phone and Windows RT are going to become more closely aligned and what that means for you as somebody trying to develop for our stack of platforms.
Right. What does that mean?
I mean, Microsoft has always had kind of a loose story where they could say, look, if you develop for this platform, moving over to this other Microsoft platform is pretty seamless. You can use the same language, the same developer environment, and so forth. And obviously, one of the goals moving forward is to get even beyond that, where you can have more shared code, more projects that work across different platforms and all that kind of stuff.
Getting Morse code actually is what we're getting in your microphone. Yeah, no, it's going to do.
Oh, is it doing that?
Yeah.
I tried to move my phones away from the microphone.
Are you a ham?
No, I'm not. My cat is
your cat's
sat and cried by the door for 20 minutes straight, so I finally let her in, and now she's bumping the microphone repeatedly as she has her little petting frenzy here.
I don't know if you know, but I am a ham, and I know CW. That's what us hams call Morse code. And she actually is saying, "Please feed me Friskies."
Yes. No, she doesn't want food. She wants attention.
No.
The problem is everyone's gone today, so usually she has her little routine where she gets attention around the house at different times of the day by different people.
Now it's all up to you, Paul.
Today it's just me, so it's been lackluster.
Daddy has to play Call of Duty. Time to go away, cat. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to distract. I was distracted like a small animal by the Morse code.
If you notice, my microphone is going up and down.
That's the cat.
That's the cat.
Mary Jo, don't you have a cat or something? Some animal of some
used
sort?
to have one, but no more.
Oh, now I understand. Yeah, she really wants to, or he really wants to be there. Aw. Okay, so do they also use Build to they give them developers code, they give them bits. There's a chance to see stuff in beta and so forth. For instance, Windows 8.1 update. Will they show that?
Yeah, they're going to talk about that.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, we've been reporting that that supposedly that's going to be available to MSDN customers on April 2nd, which is the first day of build. So makes sense. They'll talk about that and probably give people the bits who don't have them. But the way it's going to be delivered is through Windows Update, we've heard. So that should, for everyday customers, I should say, not for MSDN customers. The one we're less certain about is what's going to happen with Windows Phone 8.1, because we had originally heard Microsoft's goal was to try to RTM that right before build also, so that they could give developers a preview build when they're at the conference. But now it's a little iffy, it sounds like, if that's actually going to RTM in time for them to do that. So I think they'll still talk about it.
That was absolutely their goal.
That was, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
Okay.
I think Windows Phone 8.1 was not as well defined or not as far along as Windows 8.1 Update 1. And I'd heard they had brought over guys from the Windows team to help out over there. And that it was coming in, the phrase was, it was coming in hot, was what I was told. But this was a month ago, and now it looks like they're not going to make it. So
that's frustrating. Yeah. But you don't have to be there, as you point out, to get it. So presumably they'll talk about it.
I think they'll still talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I think RTM is close. Even if they don't actually hit it, then I think they'll still disclose the features, or at least some of them, or the majority of them. They have to. Do they
talk about it in terms of, okay, developers, here's what you need to know about Update 1, here's what's changed? Or do they talk about more generally in the way that we as users and journalists would be interested?
Well, both, right? I mean,
they do. So they know
events.
They know that people are paying attention besides just developers.
Yeah, because I'm sure, have they announced this? I mean, I'm sure they'll webcast the keynotes.
Right. Yeah, they're going to.
And that will be general news, and that's where they would talk about the features and so forth. And then, of course, over the course of the couple of days of I almost call it a concert, of the event, the conference, it's like a concert. You can obviously there'll be Windows Phone sessions, and you can learn how those new features impact you as a developer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the sessions go deep. Like they code on stage and laugh at ankle bracket jokes and things like that.
Yep,
that's what I like.
Yep.
Yeah, I always kind of sit there like, okay.
Have you heard the one about go to fail? That's fun. I like developer jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, developer shows are awesome.
Yes.
Because it gives you so many kind of good clues about where things are going, right? Even if you can't, like me, completely follow all the code and everything, you kind of can. Well, you talk to a lot of developers, plus you get the gist from what they're emphasizing in these keynotes. Like, this is where we're going to put a lot of attention.
And it's fun if they throw up a slide with some angle brackets and everybody goes. Then you kind of go, what happened? What happened?
Exactly.
The best part is when they make a simple coding error up on the screen, and then everyone in the audience is yelling out what they should be doing to fix it. That's just hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
you forgot the semicolon. I'd love to go to something like that.
Here's an interesting little tweet from Daniel Rubino, who was on the show
Love Dan.
recently.
Yes.
He just put a very cryptic tweet and says, "Congrats to the Windows Phone team." That's all it says.
Wow.
What could that possibly mean?
RTM, perhaps?
They are-
It was just a few minutes ago. So.
Congrats. Dan, you're being very cryptic. Call us now.
Yeah, Dan, what's going on?
Come on.
It would be great if they RTM'd. It would be perfect. So, yeah. Matthew Cromer just told me that through Twitter.
Actually, they do
and
have a post that says Windows Phone 8.1 Core is finished today.
That's it?
That's good.
It's still not technically RTM.
Not technically RTM'd, right?
That will happen over the next couple of weeks.
They're close.
Very good. All right.
That's good. Yeah. So what else are we thinking? There's also going to be a Nokia announcement at Build. They put out a very cryptic invitation, and Leo, you gave us some guidance about decrypting these. So I actually posted a piece of the invitation on this one.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah. So it says, "Join us for more." This is on the first day of Build.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's calm down.
This is on April 2nd in the evening in San Francisco. They're inviting the press, and it's an invite that says, "Join us for more," and the hashtag is more Lumia.
In case you weren't sure.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, is that what they do?
Oh, right.
Lumia.
But okay, here's what makes this little invite confusing. See the little smiley guy in the middle?
Upside down headphones.
Right. That implies Nokia Mix Radio.
Well,
Not
okay.
a phone,
Don't get too excited about that.
Why?
If you go to Conversations by Nokia,
Oh, right. They have a different
that
logo.
graphic animates and it goes through various Nokia logos,
Okay.
including here and whatever.
That's
So
right.
it's not specifically related to
It's not
music.
just that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's a limitation of the paper invitation.
Yeah.
Yes, that we don't see on the internet.
Yeah.
If you build
So-
it, they will come, says
Yeah.
the blog post. All right.
Yeah, we don't know what this is. There's supposedly three different new Nokia phones in development that all could be running Windows Phone 8.1. They're codenamed Moneypenny, Goldfinger, and Martini.
Ooh. Shaken, not stirred.
Yes.
Yes.
But we don't, beyond that, everybody's kind of guessing. I saw Ina Fried over at Recode was guessing maybe it's a wearable, something like a wearable device.
That would be timely.
It would. But then why would
You know,
Windows?
Based on the
Phone-
build quality of Lumia devices, it could be like a brass knuckles.
It could.
Every
Yeah.
time you run into an iPhone, Jarek, you can just give them a smack.
Now, there's still not Microsoft. And in fact, it's a little delayed,
Right.
I think, this closing. They won't be Microsoft by the time build happens.
Yep.
And so that really limits them, to my knowledge of how these acquisitions happen, it very much limits them in how much they can converse. They can't act as if they're Microsoft.
Right.
I mean, I have no idea what the problem there is, to be honest, legally or
It's
whatever.
China, and it's Google.
In India,
No,
too.
I mean,
India.
why they can't just start working together on stuff.
Because then it would be,
legal.
yeah, for legal, yeah.
Why? I mean, what's
Not
the
allowed.
difference?
Because it might not be approved.
If it falls through.
You guys started, but they're already the closest partners on Earth. I mean,
I know. But technically they can't. They can't do it.
this is like
So,
telling
yeah.
a couple they can't go away for a weekend, the weekend before
You're
they get
not married yet.
This
Yep,
is
pretty
Separate
much.
very
rooms.
strange.
Yeah,
Paul and Stephanie, separate rooms.
Yep.
You two look like you're very into each other. I don't know.
Actually, so since you're on this topic, and since we just showed a picture from 1988, I will tell you that in that year, we used to go up to Vermont for these weekends. And one day with our dad, I'm actually cleaning the dishes with him, and he says, "Must be really expensive going up to Vermont." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, having to pay for 2 rooms every night like that.
Was that now? What was he joking?
Yeah,
was he
that's the way he
fishing?
jokes. He's,
It's pretty funny.
awkward.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's a somewhat less romantic image of you guys from that era with your roommates.
Yeah.
Who's the guy in the wife beater?
Lou, my friend Lou.
Lou.
Yeah, I went to high
And
school.
one
with him,
guy's not even wearing
actually.
a
So
shirt at all.
every guy on that couch, not including the baby, are all guys I went to high school with.
Oh, that's nice.
All friends of mine from 7th, 8th grade.
Stephanie doesn't look really happy about the whole thing, I got to tell you.
That baby, his name is Crispin. Of course, now he's 25 or something.
Yeah, I know.
But he used to sit on my lap while I played Doom on the computer, and he used to say, "Bad guy go down, bad guy go down."
Okay. What's he thinking for a career?
I don't know. He's probably in jail.
Bad guy go down.
Yeah, it's weird. He turned out really violent. I don't know why.
No, I think you can use him as proof positive that violent video games do not create violent children. Just terrified, scared.
Right, just lots of nightmares.
Yeah. Okay, so Nokia is going to be there announcing something. We don't know what. Yeah, I hope it's more than headphones.
You know what? I more and more think Julian Kay's thing. There's also a watch face as one of the rotating logos. I think a watch makes
a lot of sense, to be honest with you.
Kind of does, right?
It's what everybody's doing.
Okay, so the thing to do, though, would be to go look at Nokia's apps. And I actually sort of thought about doing this because you can look at each of those images that cycles through. Do they all equate to a Nokia, tile design or icon or whatever for an app today? I don't know. Because there's a couple in there I didn't recognize.
Yeah, see, you guys would be terrible Apple journalists. You don't obsess enough.
Yeah, we don't. We don't obsess anywhere near enough.
We need more obsession. So there's a clock. There's a camera.
Yeah, but that exists. That planet thing, I don't know what that is.
Radio.
What's that check mark thing? The backwards check mark thing.
Chat. That's a clock.
Oh, no, that's the clock.
Yeah.
It's not a backwards
check mark, a.k.a. big hand and little hand.
Since I can't believe we're doing this. But the one that looks like a planet, does anyone know what that is?
Maps.
No, I know. No, that's not their map. That's not their map.
Because here comes the map. Here's the icon. Yeah. Oh, so there's a globe. I'm telling you, this is a watch. Every one of these things. Is that the camera? The thing that looks camera-ish?
Yes, that's the Pro camera, or whatever they're calling it now. Nokia camera. Yeah.
I think if you read the tea leaves carefully.
Yep.
This could very well be a watch. And who hasn't done a watch at this point, In fact, Intel just bought Basis, which is one of the top independent sport watches out there. So this is this category is as hot as can be. Wearables are very hot. I wouldn't be surprised.
And a lot of people who have Windows phones are like, hey, we want a wearable for us.
Right. Even the Pebble doesn't work with Windows Phone, right?
I think it does.
Oh, it
actually.
does. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not like a first-class citizen. Right. I don't think.
We're so lonely, Leo. It's it's just sad.
Just stare at these rotating icons a little longer.
But you know what? If it is a watch, how cool would that be if that's one of the giveaways at Build?
Oh, wow. Now you're talking like a Google developer. What do we get for free?
Right.
No, that's for you because you got.
I hope they give us a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone gets a Chromebook and a Nokia watch.
Wow. Wow.
No.
Other possible dev announcements? You say TypeScript 1.0.
Yeah. I've been thinking through what else is close to announcement that could be good at Build. So maybe TypeScript,
What's
right?
That?
Because that's the superset of JavaScript that Anders Heilsberg's
compiled, right? The compiled version.
Oh, that would be cool. Okay, I'd be.
That would be cool.
Where is Visual Studio at? They must be close to a second beta.
Super close to update 2 for Visual Studio 2013.
Well, I mean, what about the next version? They could show off.
Oh, 2014. I think they're still just going in quarterly increments, so I think they'll just talk pretty short term on that, maybe.
Okay.
And then there's been rumors about Microsoft. Well, we do know Microsoft is doing another version of Windows Presentation Foundation, and that would be a good show to talk about that, even at a high level.
I wonder who got to dust that thing off.
Yeah. But you know what they need? Because I think that makes sense. That they need a story for their line of business developers who are still working with .NET, who aren't still on the HTML JavaScript bandwagon. They got to tell them something, right? So that would be a good story. And then there's also this thing called Project N that I've written about, which is technology that Microsoft has for taking .NET applications for the Windows Store and letting them be natively compiled so that they perform better. That would be interesting if they talk about that there, Project N. But the big one everyone's waiting is Microsoft going to buy Xamarin. That's like the big announcement everybody's saying, oh my God, are they going to do that at Build?
And Miguel de Icaza will be there, I'm sure, right?
He's definitely going to be there. He's coming to the Blogger Bash.
That's
hear.
right. And this time Paul will recognize him, which is a good thing. He'll know who he is.
Maybe he will.
Oh, Miguel. We met.
I'm never going to live that one
And
down.
you would be. So Xamarin is the is it open source? It's the .NET for the rest of the world, basically.
Right. They do tools so that if you're a C# developer, you can develop for iOS and Android.
Right.
So that would be a very interesting thing for Microsoft to own, or at least to invest heavily in. That was the rumor from a couple weeks ago from CRN that they
By the
are
way,
either going to buy them or invest.
One thought I had about Miguel the other day was that, if you think back to 2003 into that video we played at the rooftop in LA when Don Box was serenading him and Microsoft wanted him to join. At that time, he worked for the company that did GNOME and
he created GNOME. Yeah.
Right. But what was the company called? It wasn't Xamarin. It was Zimian or Zimian.
He's had a couple names for his company.
Yeah.
But it was a small, it was obviously very heavily involved in open source world.
Yeah.
Right around that time, they were bought by Novell, and he worked at Novell for many, many years, at least 7 or 8 years, I bet. And then he started Xamarin.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that experience at Novell wouldn't work in his favor a little bit along the lines of coming to Microsoft, because he kind of already went through it. And whereas Microsoft might have been too big and crazy for him 10 years ago or whatever, maybe today, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. He even was a Microsoft MVP at one point, I think. So he's very tight with the Microsoft dev community.
Sure.
Mono.
Yep.
Mono
and then
originally, in 2001.
He did Moonlight, which was a Linux port that they ended up not continuing.
And you're right, it was Zimian, Ximian, in 1999.
Zimian, yeah.
Zimian.
But I think that company was the one that was bought. It was sold to Novell.
So just so you know, Paul, this is what he looks like. Just so you could if you see him.
Thanks. I can assure you, I will never forget what he looks like again.
I'm just teasing you.
Oh,
Do you want to see the other members of the management team in case you see them?
Nat Friedman. Yeah. He's around
thanks.
too.
Future members of the Microsoft board.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants a board seat. That's what he's holding out for.
Everyone wants a board seat.
Everybody wants a board seat. It's a small board. They got room. There's chairs.
I just have a little hint for him. First meeting, you got to ask where the corn is.
Will there be corn?
Ballmer's going to take it all.
And so they do give stuff. I mean, that Google is famous for, and in fact, I think it was a big mistake because now you just can't get into Google I/O. Famous for putting a ton of stuff under the seat.
Spend $2,500 coming to San Francisco so I can get $800 worth of goodies under my seat.
Will there be something? Do they do giveaways at Builds? And will there be something you think?
They often do, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Remember they had that line last year for you get a Surface for $100 and people got in line for that. That is not what I call a giveaway. I want something. Big.
What did they give people last year? I think they gave the attendees a Surface.
Going back to PDC, they had netbook giveaways. They had Ultrabook giveaways.
A watch would be nice, but see that'd be Nokia. I don't think they can do that.
Oh yeah,
well,
they
Nokia
could do it.
Nokia could say, "Hey, Microsoft, I don't know you, but
I'm not saying you're going to be the ones that are going to write this off in about 3 months, but
can we give these away?"
Yeah.
And then Surface Mini, that's one of the rumors. That's an interesting rumor.
I saw that rumor today, and I had actually heard that too. So there, we've been hearing Microsoft's got this 8-inch Surface tablet in the wings.
Why not? Dell's
waiting.
got one. Lenovo's got one. I mean, this is.
I'm just doubtful on that one because the Surface team is going at a very slow pace in terms of introducing new products. And I just would be surprised if there have been no leaks at all and suddenly they show up with like 6,000 Surface Minis at the show. But you never know.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
It would. And you know why it would be cool is one of the features we've heard rumored for Windows 8.1 Update 1 is that it can work on smaller, cheaper tablet-sized devices. So this would be a great example. Like, hey, you guys, here's your Surface Mini preloaded
Make sure it
with
works
update
on this. Yeah, well, if you're going to do a form factor like that, it's probably a good idea to say, hey, you take this so that you can make sure it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, your software works.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I know. So, but we don't know. It's been very surprising. I haven't heard a single leak about what they're giving away this year. There's been rumors about Nokia phones and this and that, but I haven't heard any credible leaks about what the giveaways
How
are.
about they'll give away the Lumia X?
Oh, geez.
Give the Android phone away.
That would not be popular at this show.
And the headline would be, they can't even give away the Nokia X.
Yeah, I bet you there'll be very little mention of Android at Build.
Well, I don't know.
I wonder.
If Microsoft does announce the iPad version of Office tomorrow as expected, what about an Android version? And what about an Android developer story, a cross-platform developer story that could be part of the Xamarin thing?
Xamarin, yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, I think at this build you're going to hear a lot about Android and iOS, and not maybe, which would be very odd. And also, of course, Windows and Windows Phone.
there's going to be a lot of grown men crying at this show, Leo. It's going to be ugly.
Well, this is come to think of it, this is the time you need to kind of get developers to gear up for the notion that you're going to be in a platform agnostic world. This is all about the cloud.
And they can
devices
point to
and
their own
services.
collection of apps and say, look, we're already doing this.
Yeah.
This is how it works.
Yeah. And we're going to help you do it. Is the important
I would hope
piece
so.
of the puzzle.
Right, especially Azure, right? Because they already do Azure Mobile Services, which address all these cross-platform developers. So that would be a natural fit for them to talk about this. Yeah. So I got people saying last year.
JSON and
Last year they gave away the Acer W3 and a Surface Pro to everybody.
Wow.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, the Iconia.
Yep, that was a pretty nice set of giveaways. And then I think you also did you get a year of Adobe Cloud or something too?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yep.
Adobe Cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. I think there might have been, was there some SkyDrive storage or something too, probably in there? And
Yep. Right. They gave away a lot last year.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you come see the show on Friday, Mary Jo and Paul will be sporting that new Nokia watch. They'll be driving the new Microsoft car. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be exciting.
It's the world of the
We'll
future,
have
Leo.
our Oculus Rift equivalents on.
Your Fortaleza glasses.
Microlux Rift or whatever.
Your autographed pictures of Satya Nadella. It's going to be a bonanza.
It's going to be crazy.
Crazy. And you all get a ham.
Somehow don't you sort of suspect Satya Nadella has an iPhone just looking at this guy? Doesn't he just look like an iPhone?
I would always ask the CEO of Ford what he was driving. It was never a Ford. But
Really?
Well, yeah, because he said, I know all about Ford cars. I need to drive the competition.
Why would I want to drive one of those?
Yeah, really, those are dangerous.
Yeah, wait till I tell you about this hilarious ignition problem you're going to find out about.
No. He'd say, I drive all the competition because I need to see the competition. And I think that's not an unfair point of view. You don't want to get caught using an iPhone. But I bet you they do sometimes. Don't
really?
tweet with it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much it on Build. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad you guys are coming out. We'll do a special show. It'll be a lot of fun. I want to invite you to dinner after. If I bet you Liz and Alex already got you for dinner after. But if they didn't, we'll take you out. Not you, the people listening at home.
A gigantic.
Screw you guys. No, I think actually what I'd like
through
to
the window at us eating.
no, I think what I'd like to do this year is
Get the hell out.
No, do something with everyone who comes. So if you do come up to,
okay, we could do that.
just do kind of a group
we
thing.
could do that. They moved taps.
We heard new taps.
New
right?
taps. So we'll all go over there and have a beer. And I'll buy the first round. How about that?
Nice.
I would like 11 beers for my first round, please.
I'll take
And can you keep 10 of them in the freezer?
picture of beer, please. Just for me. All righty, Rudy. So we briefly mentioned this, but when is the Nokia Microsoft deal going to close now?
Well, sometime.
Wasn't
in
it supposed to be
April,
this month or like?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
By this. Yeah.
by this month.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now when?
They're saying by the end of April, but I'm thinking they're going to go sooner rather than later in April. It's just being held up by, one thing it's being held up by is India, because there's a dispute with the Indian Supreme Court over taxes on one of Nokia's factories, or two of them, I think now.
Oh, Lord.
And then China, I don't think still has officially approved either.
And aren't Google and other competitors lobbying the Chinese government?
Yeah, Samsung and Google. Yeah.
Saying
something about licensing fees, because
Patents.
we're afraid that they're gonna lower prices or something in China, and that makes us nervous.
Right.
I think is what it boils down to.
No, I think it was also about patents, which was so ironic, right? Like Microsoft and Nokia, if they become one, are going to charge us these exorbitant fees for patents.
I hope they do. I hope they do.
That's just what the Chinese court wants to hear.
Yeah. So end of April, which means they can't work together till then, and Microsoft doesn't get the 30,000 plus employees or the factories or any of that until the deal closes.
Right. Did you get your Did you buy the S7? What did you end up getting?
I did.
You did?
I bought the Acer S7. Yep.
And
I love it.
all right.
Yep.
It's
a really nice machine.
Very thin, very light. I have the first generation, which I think had a few issues with the keyboard and the trackpad, which they seem to have fixed nicely in the second edition.
They did.
And you have Haswell, fourth generation Intel, and so it runs Notepad
a
like a bat out of hell.
You should see Notepad on this thing. It's unbelievable.
They should give battery life for Notepad.
The font is so unpixelated.
It is. It's a 1080. It is. It's high res display.
Which bigger than that.
It's beyond 1080.
Is it? Oh, nice.
It's got to be 2560 by 1440 or something like that.
Love that.
Yeah. It's 2560 by 1440. I got 8 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig SSD drive.
That makes a difference too, doesn't it?
With all that RAM, you'll be able to run 3, possibly 4 instances of Notepad.
I know. It's just going to change
it's crazy.
the world.
The drumbeat for Notepad tabs is really increasing now.
It is.
We need a tab. We need a tab interface on Notepad. So, good on you. And did Acer just gave it to you, right? You didn't have to buy that.
No, I bought it.
Oh, aren't you an integrity? Don't you?
I'm
have
not allowed
integrity?
to keep those things. No. So
I think that's the right way.
Padre is the one who got me a loaner device. He knew some people at Acer. They loaned me a device for a couple weeks, and then I decided to buy it after that.
Do you ever use it like this, where it's flat?
I was just looking at that.
Somebody's touching the screen on the other side.
I would refuse to let anyone touch my computer
use it
like that.
No.
I have not. I've yet to figure out the application for that.
I would use the device as a weapon after that.
There's some key combination you press, and it flips the display image to the other side. So if you want to show somebody something,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but no one's touching my laptop. Sorry.
No.
Let's be clear.
No touch and show.
I don't even want to touch it. I don't want to do the touch. I am using.
It's made of glass, so Mary Jo will cut you if you try to touch the laptop.
They're claiming 8-hour battery life. Are you getting anything like that?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
I am, and the best thing is it's working really well in the whole connected standby sleep thing is working very well. So I just shut the lid. When I come back, the battery's not dead, which is not the case with my Surface RT, sadly.
What about the fans? Do the fans kick in at all?
You know, the first time I heard the fan was yesterday, and it was because I put my Verizon EVDO card in, and it kicked off the fan because I was using my card in it. But otherwise, I haven't heard it at all.
They're doing something called twin air cooling.
It stays really cool.
Yeah.
Like I put it on my lap. I don't even feel any heat off that thing at all.
So
nice.
Yeah. I wrote a post about my experience buying this machine.
And this must have been just as good as having the machine, I would imagine.
You guys know, because I've been talking about it on the show. I've been looking for months for a Windows PC, right? I mean, literally, like maybe 6 months. And I've tried everything to try out models without being able to actually get my hands on them. I've gone to Best Buys. I've gone to different computer retailers here in New York, and I've been trying to get a feel for like, what is the weight of these things? And what's the keyboard really like? And how good is Notepad on this thing? And I've just had a heck of an experience with it because it just has been a terrible, terrible retail experience.
Well, why didn't you just go to the Microsoft store?
Because there isn't one here.
I knew.
That
By the way,
solved a
it
lot of
still amazes me.
Yeah. The biggest
There's a
city in
kiosk.
America.
That is
And
crazy.
they've got a kiosk.
Yeah. Yeah.
7
It's like
million people.
No, it's like a guy in a Microsoft
One
shirt
kiosk.
selling like video recordings of movies in a theater. And here's a couple of laptops, the signature laptops you can buy.
So where did you go to, like 47th Street Photo or one of them places?
That's where I should have gone. I should have gone there. I went to the flagship Best Buy in New York, which is on Fifth Avenue in the 40s. And it was a terrible experience, I have to say. And I'm not blaming the people who work at Best Buy. It wasn't them who were terrible. It was the way these things are so tethered down to the tables, you can barely pick them up. And so I couldn't ever tell how heavy any of these things were.
Yeah, I hate that. They have those locks on the back. Yeah, I hate that.
The other funny thing not funny, it was kind of enraging that happened was I saw the Zen book in there, the Acer Zen book, which I also wanted to look at and compare to the Acer. And I went to pick it up and I couldn't pick it up. So I put it back down and a guy next to me just picked it up and he pulled on the tether really hard and that sets off an alarm, right, in the store. And so the guy runs off and I'm just standing there.
I didn't do it.
She's like, she did it. And then he ran away.
And
He runs
I just
away?
held my hands up. I was like, don't
He
shoot.
runs away?
So
He
Mary
ran
Jo
off
spent the
and-
day at Homeland Security.
Oh.
No, and so I thought maybe an employee would come over and shut the alarm off so that I could try to pick up the device and feel it to see the weight on it. And no one ever came. The alarm was going off for 5-6 minutes. So
We
finally I
don't
just
care if you
walked
steal
off.
that. Just
Yeah, I think we're getting into the territory where I think it's safe to blame the employees at Best Buy.
no one, 5 minutes, no one shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is wrong
Yeah.
on so many levels. That's just
I know.
bad.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So it just makes me sad because Microsoft did a partnership last year with Best Buy, and they said they were going to really transform the retail experience for people buying Windows PCs, like the whole store within a store thing, and they were going to fix a lot of things that were broken in this process. And to me, it feels the same as it did before they did this now. And
I think they
I would
changed
just
a
like to
couple
see
light
it
bulbs
change. Something has to change here for people buying PCs
That's really
who don't
sad.
have a Microsoft
And you can
store.
see now why Apple has all this retail presence. It's just
Yeah.
they
Yeah, because they did
used
the
to do
same thing, and they
It was
realized
terrible.
you gotta.
They
This is
had
a step
Apple
up from
employees in
nothing,
there.
but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, at least you got the signature PC, right?
Yeah, I did, which was
That's
okay.
amazing.
That was
by the way.
crazy.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I ordered the PC from Amazon and it didn't say anything about getting a signature edition. And my PC showed up. I opened the box and there's a card in it that says you have the signature edition,
Yay.
which means no crapware.
No,
Everything's
yay.
it's already
That
Windows
is-
8.1.
I didn't even think that was possible. How did that happen?
I didn't either. And I asked Microsoft about that. I'm like, I didn't know you were doing signature edition through Amazon. And they said, we are.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So they didn't know either. And it's
Was
great.
Was Microsoft the seller? Who was the seller?
Nope. Amazon.
Amazon. Huh.
Yeah.
That is so strange.
And now they're out of stock. You got
Are
the
they?
you got
Oh.
the 392, I imagine, right? That's the top
I did.
line.
Yep. I got the high end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of stock.
Yeah.
And this is not cheap. It's $1,631. The list is
No.
$1,800.
Mm-hmm.
But you get i7, you get 8 gigs of RAM, you got the solid state drive. Amazing screen. I mean, that's a beautiful screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you pay, but I think you're smart because this is people just underpay for their computers. If you don't, it doesn't say anywhere. I'm looking at it that it doesn't say signature edition.
No,
Anywhere.
I
No.
didn't know you could buy a signature PC through Amazon. That's amazing.
It's good news.
Yeah.
Maybe just what they had in the box.
Well, I was telling Mary Jo, though, I think I would recommend this to people. I think this is what people should get. But you could almost imagine some people saying, wait a minute, what is this? And then, maybe they'd researched the computer and they knew it came with all these crazy AC utilities and they see some value to that. There are people like that out there. And they would actually be disappointed by the
Right.
fact that
Where's
the
all
thing
my
was-
crazy Acer utilities?
Yeah, where's the free version of Norton that's going to expire in 7 minutes?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I am so glad. I think you made the right choice. It's my Windows machine as well, and I really like this. I have the older version, but I really like this laptop. Good.
Yep.
Good.
So finally.
And you found okay. So there is no Acer stuff on the Signature Edition at all. It's just a generic.
There's
Windows
a couple
install?
Acer things, like there's an Acer webcam.
Right.
But yeah, nothing like you say, oh, I got to get rid of that. I haven't deleted anything off. Except Xbox.
Well,
games.
the way that Signature does it, the way that those guys do things isn't. It's the point isn't to blanket delete everything that was on there, although that obviously happens. A lot of times PC makers will install out-of-date drivers, additional utilities that just do the same thing as something that's already in place.
Horrible, yeah.
They don't allow that stuff through. But, sometimes there is a utility on there that's pretty useful and is not something that's in Windows already. And so they'll often let that kind of thing through.
I think you did the right thing.
I do too.
Nice job. Yeah. And I'm surprised you bought it. I'm surprised you had to buy it on Amazon. But you know what? This is why brick and mortar stores are struggling.
I know.
Because you went through the whole process. You tried like the dickens to buy it at a brick
I was willing to buy it in a retail store in New York if I could have found it, but I couldn't.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I know.
And Microsoft does sell this online from their store. They were out of stock when you.
They were. Yep.
Yeah. I should look at this.
And like we've said, when something's out of stock on the Microsoft store, you can't even pay for it and say I'll take it at a later date. There's just no way to order it at all.
Right. So, it's also crazy.
I see Microsoft is offering a free touch cover now on is that Surface RT or Surface Pro?
I think it's
either, I think.
Any Surface.
It's just for this week, I think. That's a week-long promotion.
Good. And have you ever gotten your power cover, either of you?
Yeah, I got mine. I've only tested it with the original Surface Pro so far. There's been some problems, I think it's fair to say, around charging it and so forth. And it's significantly heavy. But I think, people, when I wrote my little first impressions thing about this, I got some feedback from people who said, why would anyone buy this thing? And I don't think anyone buys a Surface 2 and then buys this, or a Surface Pro 2. I think this is for people who've had their machine for a while, and for whatever reason, they either have the first Surface Pro, which does not get good battery life, or they're in some situation where this is extremely important to them. And this is actually kind of a neat way to add battery life. It does a couple of things. Obviously, it adds weight. It adds thickness, too. And honestly, for the keyboard, the additional thickness, I think, is actually kind of pleasant. In the sense that it's easier to type on. It may help you type better on your lap. One of the problems, like Mary Jo will tell you, is that with a Surface and any touch keyboard or type keyboard, you can't just put it on your lap because it's top heavy, it's not stable, and this thing is more stable. And
is it less flexy?
Much less. It's thick and it's stiff. Yeah. So I can tell you that I haven't tested it on the other two yet, but on the original Surface Pro, I have gotten almost exactly the additional battery life bump that Microsoft said it would get, which is about 70%. It's actually averages about 69%, but it's right there at what they said. And it's not fantastic. If you're used to a MacBook Air or one of these, like the new laptop Mary Jo got, we can get 8 more hours of battery life. This is more like 6.5. Between both batteries, and that's not great, but it's great for someone who was getting 4.5 before. So
for a weight penalty, a little bit of a thickness penalty, you get a significant battery improvement.
Yeah,
and
I think it makes sense.
A little more rigid and usable.
Yeah. If you want to use it on your lap, it may be possible.
Can you use that on the first edition Surfaces, the originals?
Not on the RT, but on the Pro.
On the Pro, Surface 1 Pro or Surface 2, Surface 2 Pro.
That's right.
All right. And it's $200.
$200.
And available now, finally.
Yeah.
And then finally, Microsoft has discontinued, finally. I say finally in the sense that finally in this
I knew this day would come.
Finally.
Those quitters.
Oh, I knew they'd discontinue the wireless keyboard adapter.
That nobody knows anything about.
Didn't even know they existed.
I have one of these things. I'm gonna sell it on eBay for $1,000.
You should. People want them because when I wrote about this today and I said, "Oh, Microsoft's decided they're not making these anymore," they they're confirming that to me.
Do people want these? Because I definitely will get rid of this thing.
They want them.
Yep.
So this lets you use a touch cover
or a type cover, either one.
Or a type cover.
Yep.
Using Bluetooth from a distance.
Right.
Yep.
So say you want to.
Why would you want to do that?
No, like say you want to project
not small enough
onto,
when you're on top of it, Leo.
No, you want to project onto a big screen, like 30 feet away.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's it's a $60 thing. A lot of people said they used it when they traveled, but Microsoft's just decided, for whatever reason, they just said, due to a number of factors, we are no longer making these. That's that.
Number one of those being unpopularity. It's a lot of people when this thing first came out or when they first announced it said this would be an interesting solution for the living room. If there was some way to use this keyboard in tandem with some
lean back solution.
Yeah. And I could see that, I guess.
So the thing it attaches to the keyboard.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little tube that you click into with a clicker on the keyboard, and then it talks to the computer.
Yep.
Via
Great.
Bluetooth. Right.
So if you do want one of these, Best Buy does have them in stock, and I guess they're going to try to unload the stock now. At Microsoft Store, it's sold out, and they're not coming back.
They are attached to those little wires, but you just pull it right off because nobody's paying
Yeah,
attention.
Right.
Nobody
just
cares.
Take it and
Just
run.
take it and run. Yep.
Just pull it right off.
Take it and run.
No, don't do that. But Leo said I could.
It's like Armageddon in there. You hear
It's Mad
did
Max.
A wolf howl
Welcome
when
to
you were in
the
the PC
Thunderdome.
department? Yeah. It's like, hey, Gracie, I think I see a customer in the PC section.
Run! Run! Time for lunch. Our show today brought to you by... And they're wondering why Amazon's getting all the business. That's what cracks me up. You're showrooming. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because nobody helped me. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Citrix and the great program ShareFile. If you are in business, you probably have noted that a lot of your emails these days have attachments. Wrong answer. It's not what you should be doing for a number of reasons. We always say don't open attachments. And, of course, whenever I say don't open attachments, I always get, but I'm in business. I need to send attachments to clients. I have PowerPoint presentations or contracts or, I just have to send stuff. And, yeah, you do. I understand that. The other problem, of course, is it's not secure when you send stuff through the email. Anybody can read it, as we know, and we'll be talking about shortly. But also, in fact, if that guy had just sent those private Microsoft documents through ShareFile, well, I'm not advocating the use of ShareFile for any illegal purposes. However, it is, if you're in medicine, illegal not to make sure that your patient records are protected. Sending them through email would be illegal. Same thing, SEC has regulations. Many industries have similar regulations. There's also the issue of bounce back. You can't send giant files through the email. It's not polite, it's not right, it's not secure. So use ShareFile. So many big businesses now use ShareFile because it works so well as a way to share files. You get a page that is customized, a white label customized landing page with your company logo on it. You can send files of almost any size securely. You control how it's accessed, by whom, what levels of permission they have. You confirm when files are received with tracking and email alerts. You can access your files yourself anytime with their free apps or on any computer. I create shared folders that sync automatically. When I use ShareFile every day to send audio files to radio stations, and it's really the right way to go. I want you to try it. 30 days free. Just click that podcast listeners click here button at the very top, in the fine print at the top of the page. Make sure you put Windows in when it asks you for the offer code, WINDOWS. Choose your industry. You don't have to, but it's a nice idea to choose your industry because they'll customize it. If you're in law or medicine, whatever it is, they'll customize it appropriately and make sure and fill you in on the regulations and everything that it sticks to. Sharefile.com. Type in Windows. And you get it free for 30 days. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We are talking about Windows. Windows Weekly is on the air. Still to come. Picks of the week, beer pick of the week, things like that. the renamed Microsoft Service of the Week right now.
Yep.
And I ain't talking OneDrive. Azure is no longer Windows Azure. It's Microsoft
That's
Azure.
about all we need to say about that.
There you go. Bada boom. Bada bing.
That's crazy.
You said this should happen 2 years ago, apparently. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I have had trouble locating my articles about this, but we know we've talked about this. And last year, I wrote a editorial about how Windows Azure in many ways was the future of Microsoft. This is before they redid their company structure and all this kind of stuff. And I was saying that this is when you think about devices and services in Microsoft, kind of 75% of it is services. It's not 50-50, And when you think about services, I mean, it's all kind of based on Azure. I mean, a lot of what they do is or will be based on Azure, and Azure is the center of it. And it's not Windows, is it? It's they kind of sold it that way in the beginning, but it's really not Windows.
They should have renamed it Titanfall Azure.
Yeah, I like that.
Woohoo!
Actually, it's been one of the reasons Titanfall works so well on the Xbox One is because they're Azure servers. And
every time you paid for some kind of service, they could say your Titan is ready.
Press the down arrow to get your Titan.
Can make that awesome sound.
That to me is actually a really good proof of concept because gaming latency is everything. So the fact that you can use these kind of enterprise grade servers for gaming is pretty impressive. Titanfall server, it rolls off the tongue.
This is kind of dumb. I'm sorry I'm telling you this now, but I actually have to leave a little early today.
Okay, like now?
I just got a reminder on my in about 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, we'll be done by then.
Sorry about that.
I don't mind at all, Paul. Your cat needs you.
It's
almost kitty time.
Yeah, but one more thing to say on the Azure announcement this week. I think it's another kind of telling announcement because if you think about what is hosted right now on Azure and what kinds of tools you can use if you're an Azure developer, it didn't really make sense anymore to call it Microsoft. Yeah. I mean, to call it Windows Azure, right? Yeah. You can use Java, PHP, and you can run Oracle.
Linux. You can run Linux on
it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's fair to say that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it makes sense that they did this, right?
Yeah. No, I've always thought this made sense. And obviously within Microsoft, there are going to be people who are going to argue against this. There are still the old school kind of Windows-centric folks who don't like to, want everything to have that Windows name on it. They think it's important, but this new CEO in town.
Yeah.
So
yes, there is.
So and what part of the company did he come out of again?
Yeah. Enterprise. So do you think this is a little bit of a bellwether that the word Windows no longer has the magic potency that it had?
Well,
earlier days?
It already doesn't actually, but I would just say that it doesn't make sense to put it on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was last week I mentioned, the kind of lack of respect that a name like Windows Live Messenger has when you're running it on a Mac.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't make sense everywhere.
Microsoft Messenger makes a lot more sense. Microsoft Azure. If only we knew how to pronounce it. It wasn't always Azure.
Somebody did say, I think it was on Twitter, someone said, it's just like Microsoft to take out the one part of the name that everyone could pronounce. And leave in the one that we didn't know how to pronounce. That's pretty good. Yeah. It's like a Klingon word or something. Microsoft.
I always like the code name. The code name Red Dog would have been easier.
Red Dog, Microsoft Red Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. We reported on this. A lot of people have. We've been talking about it almost all week now. And I think it's funny, if Microsoft hadn't run the Gmail Man ads and the Scroogled ads, there'd be a lot less to this story. But people just took some real glee in saying, see, even Microsoft reads your email.
Yeah, but to that I would say when they know that a crime has been committed. I mean, again, the intent is so different than we're reading your email to generate ads. Like we're reading your email to find a crook. We're reading your email to prevent viruses. It's really not the same thing, but I feel I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't see this as a potential story in the making as it happened, because in retrospect, it's fairly obvious that the piracy, people would come scurrying out of their little wood piles or whatever. Right. I mean, obviously, now it's obvious retrospectively. Right. Or retroactively.
So a former senior architect at Microsoft, former director at Microsoft. Oh, no, he wasn't a director there. He was a director at another company.
Yeah.
Was stealing Windows trade secrets while an employee and sending them to a French blogger.
Yeah.
But I like his loyalty because he used Microsoft products the whole time. Hotmail, SkyDrive.
Actually, let me ask you. So, Mary Jo, you
MSN Messenger.
You have your own email account, right?
Yeah.
Your own domain. Do you go through Microsoft services?
Some of mine do, some do not.
Okay. And so I got a number of emails, including one from a friend who said, well, clearly, you're going to stop using Hotmail now or Outlook.com because this happened. I mean, you're right about Microsoft. They could read your email. If sources are sending you information, they could find out who those sources are. You would be dumb not to do this. And
that's a good point.
Yeah, I sort of thought about that. My knee-jerk reaction is I don't need to worry about that because the people that tip me off are smart enough not to do so from a Hotmail account, you know, or
they
their
do it to an Outlook account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, I don't fear this myself that much because no one sends me stolen bits.
Right.
They send me tips, right? And I think Microsoft would have a lot more qualms going through my email for tips than they would for actual bits, product bits.
Say right now someone is rubbing their hands together and saying, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
You know.
Can you imagine the outcry if Microsoft hacked into my email and did that? I think there'd be a lot more outcry because I'm not stealing their software. Right.
And I will say that no Microsoft employee has. I'm thinking about this, but no Microsoft employee, I believe, has ever given me code. Certainly. And then, of course, there's tips, the intent.
Leaks of, leaks.
It's still information, intellectual property.
And it's still a violation of their contract. Mike Arrington, take it for what it will, because he's kind of a paranoid guy, but he wrote that Google read the Gmail of somebody who tipped him and fired the guy.
Yikes.
Google says no, right?
Google's denying it. And with Mike, you never know. But that is if I were a journalist,
right,
I probably wouldn't maintain an account through the servers of the company I'm covering.
It's a tough thing because I need to write about this stuff.
Well,
I need to actually
you should have an account. Just maybe say, hey, tipsters, send it to my Gmail account.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I have a Gmail account. I have a Yahoo account. I mean, yeah.
No, I do too. Yeah.
No, and you have to have. We all have Outlook accounts. You have to have it. But
right. Yeah. So you just pick and choose how you get your information, right?
And then I think the audacity and stupidity of what these people did is the real story. It's so stupid. Like, I'm going to give you an SDK, and maybe you can turn this into an activation server that will sit outside of Microsoft's data center and in a VM, and we will control it, and we can sell activation keys on eBay, which is it's so second rate. I mean, it's just so stupid. And calling crazy. That guy a blogger is
I know
a bit of a stretch. I mean, as silly as many bloggers can be. I mean, I think that's a black mark on everybody that lump him in with.
Yeah, really, more pirate would probably be the more apropos word.
Idiot. I mean, stupid.
To me, the silver lining in all this is Microsoft says they're going to change some of their policies about how they deal with this if this happens again, right? So they couldn't actually try to get themselves in trouble because of where this was hosted. But now they're saying
a subpoena to read their own mail, and you would be laughed at by law enforcement and courts if you had tried to get one.
Right. So
I think there's someone hiding in my closet. Will you give me permission to open my own closet?
Can you come over and look? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now they say they're going to have more of a wall between these two groups, and they're going to have to actually prove that they should be looking in the email instead of just saying, "Hey, we have proof. We could."
I actually like I thought their response was excellent.
They were honest instead of saying no,
right.
you know.
And in a couple of points, one, this happened before the NSA revelations by Edward Snowden. So at the time, people were not perhaps as aware of the issues of a company like Microsoft reading Gmail or their email. And then secondly, they responded, we're gonna have a standard as at the same level as it would be if we had to get a subpoena. We have a retired judge who will use.
By the way. That kind of response is what I often reply to people who are freaked out about the NSA and the Snowden stuff, which is, if you really are freaked out by the privacy implications of cloud computing and your data being transmitted between endpoints on the internet and someone's spying on it, and how much they may or may not know about you and so forth. Just the public discussion around this stuff is what typically changes those policies, right? That it almost doesn't matter where you fall on the NSA secrecy thing, because it's going to be fixed now. I think just because it's come out in public. And we'll see some changes. I mean, obviously there will always be spy agencies spying and all that kind of stuff, but I think that this stuff will, I don't want to say it's self-policing, it's not fair, but it will, I think just by virtue of the fact that there's a public debate about it, that's often enough. These people are relying on you not paying attention. Right.
Transparency heals a lot of wounds. And that's what's great about the internet is the public discourse is much, much more possible. And that's why Turkey's trying to shut down Twitter. Public, I mean, really.
Sure. Good luck.
Bad acts often need to be in secrecy.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then there were 10. Microsoft board now down to 10. The former, I guess he's still chairman at Seagate, CEO of Seagate, leaving the board, Stephen Luxo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was a report this week in the Journal that Steve Ballmer said he doesn't know how long he's going to stay on the board, that's kind of up in the air. So it's going to be interesting to see who they add to the Microsoft board. Right now, they are saying they don't have plans to add anyone, but they could at any point in time just add somebody because they're always recruiting and trying to make sure they're looking for the best people. Right. So when they do have openings, they can add them in.
I would guess there's some pressure from stockholders that we want a board that's more independent.
I'm sure there is. Right, because right now you've got Bill Gates. Right, you got Gates, Ballmer, and Satya Nadella all on the board. Right. So they have
but the majority of the board is
independent. Right. It is
independent, including the chairman.
Yeah, although I'd say Thompson is as close to a company guy as you're going to get. So.
Sure.
I don't know. If I were a stockholder, I'd want to make sure the board was doing some independent oversight to make sure that,
if you were a stockholder at Microsoft, you'd have much bigger problems than this anyway.
Well, there be corn. DirectX 12.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about this on other shows?
We did not.
No. So at GDC last week, Microsoft showed off and talked about the next version of DirectX 12. And they said a few interesting things about it. They said by the time of holiday 2015, there will be games that will be out that will be able to take advantage of the new capabilities.
And not just on Windows. It sounded like they wanted to put it on Xbox One as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yep. So that makes sense since the guts of Xbox One are Windows.
Makes it easier for developers.
Yep. So it's just good because I had seen people saying DirectX is dead, and they thought that Microsoft was done revving it other than very minor point releases. And this shows no. In fact, they're still doing pretty major updates to it so that they can increase performance of both games and very graphic intensive applications that are not games as well.
Good. Glad to know DirectX is not dead.
DirectX is
kind of
alive.
a mini theory about the timing of that because holiday season next year is kind of a long way away. One of the complaints about the Xbox 360, the Xbox One that could bear fruit over the years, I don't think it matters yet, but is that it is technically not quite as advanced as the PS4, right? People are often talking about the power of the GPU, the speed of the RAM, whatever it is. And so the Xbox One seems to fall a little shy of the PS4 in these technical things. Now, in the past, that kind of thing didn't necessarily matter so much because the architectures were so different. And so it would take developers a number of years to kind of get up to speed on that strange processing set that the PS3 had. And, same thing on the Xbox 360. It was a PowerPC processor. It was just kind of an unusual thing. And it took a little while to, when those things kind of evolved over time. But now that they're based on PCs, I think developers actually understand this architecture very well. And it's possible that within a year or two, they could take advantage of the extra performance that is in a PS4 and make games that perform better, look better, et cetera. And there are obviously some games now that run at higher resolutions or faster frame rates and so forth. It's possible that this DirectX 12 thing can help counter that a little bit because DirectX is very well understood by developers. And if they can harness the power of this thing in a very kind of legitimate way, it will help developers a lot because that PC architecture is actually new to the PlayStation people, right? I mean, that's kind of a new thing on that side of the fence. And so I'm curious about this. I'm wondering if this is tied in some way to like a bump in performance / I don't know, sophistication for Xbox One that may come. I guess it would be 2 years after launch.
Paul, I know you're running out of time. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Xbox One, or should we just move through to?
No, let's do that. I'll do that next week. I don't have enough time because that's going to be a lengthy rant.
Yeah.
Saved by the
Dodged
bell.
a bullet there, Mary Jo.
I'll just record something. You can tack it on to the end. Why is this week's show 13 and a half hours long?
Your pick of the week, or actually tip of the week?
Yeah. So I
Go ahead.
I'm not going to say it like that on the show, but
I like your note.
The Windows 8 One Field Guide, which is the new book I've written with Raphael, is not quite complete, but will be complete this week. It's basically this 1.0 milestone that we've been working toward. This is the version we're going to sell on Kindle and Nook, and I think other platforms too. I think the service we're using is multi-platform to put it out. And the version you could buy now from us directly, it's only $2. It's you get PDF, MOBI, or EPUB format. And again, we intend to keep this thing going. We're going to keep updating it.
Love the cover, by the way. The Indiana Jones so cool. style cover is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Of course you did.
What? No, I didn't do that.
Oh, love it.
No, that's Martin. Yeah, that's actually the best part about the book.
Yeah,
it's the cover. It's Martin McLean's cover. It's so awesome. This is the guy who does those awesome posters from Microsoft, like the Posterpedia app.
Oh,
that stuff. Awesome. He does those architectural diagrams from Microsoft.
It's beautiful. It's Indiana Jones call out there. Someday
I'll show you the excellent photo he sent me of me as Indiana Jones, which I decided not to put.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, it was
too self-aggrandizing.
It was pretty good, though.
Windows81book.com for details on how to buy it. And it'll be available everywhere.
Yep, soon.
Congratulations.
When will that be now? Soon.
Congratulations. And your software pick of the week.
Yeah, so the software pick is, if you want to, you can download the source code now from Microsoft DOS 1.1 and 2.0, some of the early versions. Those date back, I want to say, to 1981 and 1982, if I'm not mistaken.
That's when the PC shipped, yeah.
Yeah. So MS-DOS was Microsoft's versions of PC-DOS, which is the thing that they supplied to IBM. You might recall the first PC actually shipped with 3 operating systems, including CPM86 and P-System, which was based on Pascal. MS-DOS, obviously, or PC-DOS, was based on CPM as well, in a roundabout way. And then they also released a source code for Word for Windows 1.1a, which I believe is actually the first version. And this was the version of Word, of course, that made Word take off in a meaningful way in the market. Previous to that, the DOS versions did not sell well versus WordPerfect, and WordPerfect was slow to adopt Windows, and the rest, as they say, is history.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. Really neat.
Assembly language for DOS.
Yeah. So break out your MASM. I think I put that in there somewhere.
Break out your MASM. And then I would presume, I don't know what language the word is in. Is it C?
It's got to be a mixture of C and assembly language. Yeah.
Well, I just downloaded it.
Yeah, early Windows would have been. Yeah, this is probably
it's tiny.
Petzold, straight C, Win16.
6.9 megabytes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of C. A lot of C code. Yeah. Wow. This is fun.
Yeah, it's neat.
Boy, really a great thing to do. There's no value, to it at this point. So why not let people
somewhere in there? There's a WinMain.
Yeah.
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 You can
find your WinMain.
So yeah.
I don't know what Kashmir is, but this is really cool.
That's not to be confused with the Led Zeppelin song.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find main. Is it WinMain in Windows?
Well, WinMain is the name of the function, I guess.
Here's the make file, word make.
Look, it's called WinInfo. They stole my name.
Hey,
bastards!
Knock it off, Microsoft.
I knew it.
Knock it off. I wonder if I could cross-compile this on the Mac. Oh no! See, the batch file is going to kill it. Space to tab.bat.
It's like Surface 2 tablet. So I have a second software pick, but I'm actually going to let Mary Jo do that because she was the one who recommended this.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Then we'll let you go, Mr. T.
Yep.
Sorry about the
No
late
problem
notice.
at all. Paul Thurrott, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be back in studio next week. Don't forget Friday, sometime between 1 and 4, wherever Paul gets here with the rental car. We'll be doing it, and you're invited.
Like the partridge-friendly bus coming up from San Francisco.
Everybody get here at 1. We'll stand on the street and applaud him as he drives up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
All right.
Take
I'll
care.
See you. I guess I'll see you personally next week.
Yeah, can't wait. Beer's on me. Right. First beer's on me for everyone. We're going to take a break and get to Mary Jo, her software pick of the week, her enterprise pick of the week, code name of the week, and the beer of the week still to come on Windows Weekly. Our show today brought to you by Squarespace. You don't have to go too, do you, Mary Jo? Can you?
No,
okay.
I do not. Suddenly you're just here by yourself.
Yeah. She's gone. She's gone. It took the devil to replace her. Squarespace.com. Remaking the web one site at a time. Yes, yours. Squarespace is, as you all know, we talk about them a lot, the great hosting that you cannot bring down, plus the best software on top of it in the world to give your site a unique look and feel, to make your site rock and roll. A better web starts with your website at squarespace.com. The nice thing about a lot of reasons why you would like a hosted site like this, a hosted service like this. Of course, one of the advantages is it's easy. You get the hosting, you get the domain name, you get the software, and you're up and running. You could have a site going, go to squarespace.com, click Get Started. You could have a site going in 5 minutes. I could do it as I read the commercial. I could do it. It's that easy. But the other advantage of that is all the software is tightly coded with the server software. So you're going to get a beautiful, responsive website. It's easy for them to not only keep it secure, but to keep it up to date and give you new features all the time. For instance, when we first started talking about it, there were 20 templates. Now there are 25. There's a new logo design tool, which is truly awesome. Lets you design your own logo for small companies and individuals who want to have a nice logo. They've got all of the fonts from Google Fonts. They've got amazing apps that let you post your blog, but also approve comments. Mobile apps for metrics as well. That just came out. Squarespace.com. I want you to check it out and see all the things you can do with a Squarespace site. The platform gets better and better. The code behind the scenes is beautiful, but you don't need to code. You can use Squarespace and do everything with point and click. You don't have to be a developer. If you need a little help 24/7, there's somebody at the Squarespace headquarters who will help you via chat or email. Or phone. There's a great help site just redesigned for easier access to self-help articles and video workshops. And all of this goodness, so affordable, as little as $8 a month when you get an annual plan. And the annual plan includes the domain name registry even. Even that. Professional plan starts at $16, commerce, full business at $24. Oh, although every website in Squarespace has commerce capability. Great for a school fund drive, a nonprofit, a cash wedding registry. Please try it. Go to squarespace.com. Click the Get Started button, and you can do it for 2 weeks without a credit card. Don't have to give them any personal information, but if you decide to sign up, please use my offer code WINDOWS, and you'll get 10% off. Squarespace. Building the web. One site at a time, including yours. Squarespace.com. Try it free. And don't forget when you buy to use the offer code WINDOWS. Paul Thurrott is gone. We've released the Thurrott. But fortunately, we are not alone. Mary Jo Foley is here. And Paul said you gave him the software pick of the week. Hers. How did that happen?
Yeah, because he was asking me this week what Twitter clients did I like for Windows 8? And because he's been using MetroTwit in the desktop, but I said, have you tried Tweetium as the Metro style client?
Tweetium?
And he said no. Tweetium.
So MetroTwit is gone, right?
MetroTwit, they're keeping it alive, but they ran into the what is that called? The rate issue.
Oh, they ran out of new users.
Tokens.
Yeah.
But Tweetium, which is a paid app, but only $2.99 for the Metro style version of Windows, is really awesome. It's done by B-Side Software, and our friend Brandon Paddock is the developer on that. He has built this really interesting Twitter client because you scroll horizontally for this, so it's very much attuned to the orientation of surfaces, especially, and it's got a lot of the Windows 8 Metro style stylings. It's a really beautiful piece of software. It took me a little getting used to see my Twitter stream going horizontally, but now I really love it. And
so
that's
weird. So it's not,
it's weird, right?
It's not columns, it's rows.
Yeah, you scroll on my Surface. I just scroll horizontally.
It's more natural. I agree. Yeah.
Right. And he's building or has built an enterprise.
It's beautiful.
Or more fully featured version that's going to be like a premium version. Okay. It's really nice. I really have gotten used to it, and Paul, I think, is sold on it now too. So a lot of us Microsoft bloggers like this client.
$2.99 Tweetium for Metro, and it sounds like you need 8.1 to run it.
Yeah, I think you need 8.1. Okay.
Good choice. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Now, an enterprise pick of the week. Yes,
now the enterprise pick of the week. So we mentioned earlier on in the show that one of the things that Microsoft's expected to announce tomorrow, besides Office for the iPad, is this enterprise mobility suite. And at the heart of that suite is a version of Active Directory that I didn't even know existed. I found out about this from one of my sources. It's called Azure Active Directory Premium. So now I guess they're not going to call Windows Azure Active Directory WAD anymore.
Oh, thank God.
Because I think they'll probably I would think they would probably take the Windows off of it. So this is called Azure Active Directory Premium. And WAD.
No
WAD, which is too bad.
And what is Active? I think everybody in enterprise knows, but what is Active Directory?
Active Directory is a directory service. And what Microsoft did was they took the directory service that was built into Windows Server, and they built a version of it for Azure. So it's basically the mirror of Active Directory on premises in the cloud, right? So what this premium version is it has a bunch of extra capabilities for people who are trying to do things like cross-platform device management. Has more kind of souped up capabilities around identity and access management. It lets users do self-service password reset. There's self-service group management. And if you're an IT manager, you can also do your company branding around this so that you can put your company logo on it and make it look like, hey, here's the cloud version for whatever your company is. And this is going to be one of the key components of this thing that Satya Nadella is going to announce tomorrow, I think, called Enterprise Mobility Suite. So when you hear about Azure Active Directory Premium, that's what this is. It's just a set of souped up capabilities on top of Azure Active Directory.
Awesome.
That was a tongue twister.
Yeah. How do you know all this enterprise stuff? Did you work as an IT person in enterprise?
No.
No? You just learned it over the years?
Have covered I've covered mostly the enterprise side of IT in my career. So I've talked to a lot of IT pros, and I don't use a lot of these capabilities, which makes it kind of challenging to stay up with them. But I hear what their pain points are, and I
think you need an Exchange server in your living room.
I think I do too.
I think so.
I think Parallel Data Warehouse right here would be great.
Code name of the week: Prince Rainier's not going to be happy. I see a lawsuit coming.
Code name of the week is Monaco, which I think I have made a code name in the past, and Microsoft's used it a couple of different times. But given that Build is next week, this is another one of those developer kinds of things I'm wondering if we're going to hear more about. Microsoft talked about Monaco last, I think it was November here in New York. And what it is a subset of the Visual Studio features that works inside of a browser, and not just inside of Internet Explorer. It can work in any quote modern browser, right? So it can work in Chrome, it can work in Firefox, and Safari, I believe. And Microsoft's already showed how people can use this Monaco technology to do things like edit Azure websites directly from inside the browser. I think they may be ready to start talking about a beta of this, if not the final, because what we saw last fall was just the preview version of this. And it kind of fits in with their whole story of cross-platform, more cloud orientation. We know they're going to talk a lot about Azure at Build. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them also talk about Monaco next week.
All right. Monaco.
Monaco.
Do you have any beer for us?
I do. And I have a funny story about this beer, too.
Okay.
All right. So my beer pick of the week is a beer from Austin, Texas. It's called Jester King Noble King.
All right.
So, when you're into craft beers, you can't get every craft beer everywhere. Like this beer doesn't exist in New York, as far as I know. I've never heard of it.
To get this.
You got to go to Texas to get it. So last week while we were doing Windows Weekly, I got a note from a guy via Twitter who said, "Hey, I'm at Rattle and Hum. I'm visiting from Texas, and I brought you a beer."
Oh.
So
now it's nice to have fans. Wow.
I know, right? And so I couldn't make it down to the bar right then because we were doing the show. And so he left the beer for me behind the bar.
Oh, that is nice.
And this beer is amazing. If you like,
I just like the label. It's got
the label's
a lion
amazing,
on it.
right?
It's beautiful.
I know. It's such beautiful artwork, and the beer is as amazing as the picture. If you like a saison farmhouse style beer,
I do actually.
This beer is delicious.
It's hoppy.
It's hoppy, but not overly hoppy. It's more kind of dry and a little bit funky. It's really good with food. I had it with Japanese food last night, and it was the perfect companion for that.
Really? Okay, so it's not so strong. It's not overpowering.
It's not that strong. Yeah. No, it's more kind of refreshing and a little bit lemony and tart, if you like those kind of flavors.
I really like that.
So yeah, Aaron, thank you so much for bringing that all the way from Texas. That was really awesome.
Sweet. Did he just bring a bottle?
I know. Yeah, he brought a big bomber bottle, and
that's so great. And thank you you must really have friends at Rattle and Hum. They just held that for you.
I know. They could have easily just popped the top on that, and I never would have known. But
that was awesome. Yeah. And do you want to mention this Klingon beer?
Oh yeah. So a few people have talked to me about this. They said you got to try this when this is out. So there's a beer. It's called Klingon Warhog. The packaging's great. Star Trek Federation of Beer.
Wow, they must have paid a lot for the license fees for that. That's
I know, right?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't think this is out yet. It's a Dunkelweizen, so it's not a hoppy beer. It's more a traditional German style, 5.5%, kind of banana clove type of flavors in that. I would love to try it. I think I would really like it probably. I don't know if we'll see that here in New York or not. But kind of a cool idea.
It says it's a partnership between CBS Consumer Products and the Federation of Beer. I guess CBS owns the rights to the Star Trek name.
Wow. If it's our CBS, I'm in luck since I worked indirectly for CBS.
They should bring some over. Yeah. Wow.
They should.
From the Tin Man Brewing Company.
Yep.
Mary Jo Foley, thank you for not running out like that loser Thurrott. No, I'm just kidding. I am looking forward to seeing both of you, and we will share a beer or two, I'm sure.
Yes, that will be fun.
Next Friday. We won't be doing the show next Wednesday because it's Build, and Mary Jo and Paul will be busy. You'll be able to catch Paul Thurrott tomorrow during our broadcast of the Microsoft announcement of whatever it is. We think it might be Office for iPad, and perhaps Touch First Office for Windows as well. That'll be 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1700 UTC on twit.tv as part of our news coverage. Next week, Friday, between 1 and 4, somewhere in there. Yeah. Between 4 and 7 Pacific, between 2000 and 2300 UTC, we will be doing Windows Weekly Live in studio with Paul, Mary Jo. And if you want to be here for that, we would love it. We'll take you all out. We'll have a meetup afterwards. But do email tickets at twit.tv so we can get a rough count. You can bring extra people or show up if suddenly things change, but we'd love to see you. Have fun at Build.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. It always is fun.
Oh, yeah. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Mary Jo Foley, allaboutmicrosoft.com. You'll find Paul Thurrott at the Supersite for Windows, winsupersite.com. You'll find us normally on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC, with Windows Weekly. If you missed the live show, though, we always make audio and video available after the fact at twit.tv/WW. Or you can subscribe and, the Xbox Music or whatever you use to get your podcasts, and you'll be able to get it each and every episode every week as it comes out. Thanks to Paul. Thanks to Mary Jo. Thanks to you for joining us. We'll see you next week, next Friday on Windows Weekly.